Oh, okay. So we continue. Let's sorry. Okay, so we stopped here when I added the files to Git. I haven't committed them yet, and I noticed that there is this extra thing that I haven't created, and this is actually the next point I had in the plans. So I'm really, as you can see, pycache and so on. So what is this? When we import a module, when we say, as we had in the, where is this? Use, this one actually, okay? So the broken one. When we say import random, okay, as I mentioned, Python searches for the for the random.pys first in your current folder and later on in the shared folders of Python. And if it doesn't find it locally and finds in the shared folder, it loads it, fine, everything is okay. But when it finds locally, what it does, it converts it into some binary format, let's say compiled format, and saves it in this folder called pycache. It creates this folder __ pycache __, and then saves the file with a pyc extension because it compiled Python code basically, or something like this, is the name of the library, random. And this is the CPython is the type of Python we have, and 3.12 is the version number. Okay, and the reason it has so specific is because while the source code is independent of your computer, is the same on Linux, same on Windows, same on Mac, doesn't matter, same on every version of Python. The pyc version of it, so the compiled version, is specific to the type of Python and the version of Python. Okay, and I'm a little actually surprised that it doesn't say Linux here, but doesn't matter. So there are a couple of different types of Python. In most cases, you are using what we call CPython, so you don't have to worry about it. And you might recall that we are using the version 3.12. I think if I type in Python -v, capital V, then you can see it's 3.12.3, but these sub numbers, they don't matter, okay? Only the first two numbers that make it different. So this is a generated file. And so first of all, now I think we understand that this pycache is a compiled version of the code. The goal of this is that next time, if I want to, if I run the program and it tries to load the random.py, it will first check if there is already this pyc file and will load that if it already exists, making actually the starting of the program faster. So this is what's called a cache. A cache in general is something that stores, let's say, a temporary value. Okay, so in order to make things faster. So this is what Python does. We don't really need this thing, and then we definitely don't want to add it to Git, because this is generated. This will be different from depending on your platform or whatever. And when I run the Python again, it will be regenerated anyway. So we don't need to put it into Git. There is also in the plan, I also included mentioned that. There is later on, I will show that Rebecca, maybe someone else, but I saw it in her profile. She had a file called dsstore, and I'll talk about it later. For now, let's get back to this the thing what we are dealing with. So I have this added to the staging folder, but I don't want to commit it. So first of all, I would like to, first step, remove it from the staging, so I don't commit now. And then I would like to make sure that I won't accidentally add it anymore. Okay? Which I just did, but luckily we noticed it and I didn't commit it. So the first thing that I do, not there, here at the bottom, is type in git reset. I think I have to type in head and then the name of the file, which is show random pycache and the name of the file. What it does, it resets to head. Head is, with capital letters, is always the name of the sort of the most recent version that you have in Git. Sorry, someone is writing and I have to check it. Yeah, sure, you can ask a question. You can always ask a question.
It's nothing. It's not about the.
You don't have to ask. You don't have to ask if you can ask a question. Okay, just ask a question. Yeah.
It's something different, not related to what you're talking about. So I can ask later.
Okay. Then I think it's better that you ask later. Okay, so we won't jump.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
I finish it now. I finish this one now, and then we jump to your question. It's Roy, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just so I can call your name if I remember it. Okay. So what I've typed in git reset, and now if I run git status again, you will see that it was unmarked, so it's not in the staging area anymore. Now the file, Git says basically that there is an untrucked file, and it doesn't detail the name of the file because it's in the folder that it is untrucked itself. So the first step, we managed to remove something from the staging area, unmark it from staging. So now we can commit these. So let's do that. That's the first thing. So git commit, and then I can type in add examples with random. Okay, good. We have this. Now we want to make sure that we don't add this pycache again by mistake. And this is a generic problem, not just with pycache. There can be all kinds of files in the folder that you don't want to add to Git. Some of them are files like this, generated files. Some might be, let's say, data files, so that you use for playing around with your code, but you don't really need them in the project, okay? And then for some reason you put it here. But it's mostly just generated files, I think. So Git has a feature, a possibility to create a file called .gitignore. And in that file, we can list all the files or folders that we want to exclude. We want to make Git to ignore. So here I create a new file and I save it immediately as .gitignore. And just make sure it needs to be in the root folder of the repository. So it's .gitignore, okay? And save. So if I run git status now again, you will see that, oh, there is this file called gitignore. It's empty so far, but it's there. So I can put here, it's called underscore, by the way. When you have two underscores on two sides of the word, it's called in Python underscore because it's double underscore. Pycache. And I don't even need to put it in say that it's in show random. I just say pycache. So now I put this in the gitignore file and I run git status again. Look now, okay, before it says that I have two modified files and these two things that are untracked. Git status, now it only talks about gitignore being untracked. The pycache, it already ignores, just as I asked it to do. Okay, so now if let's say if I'm going to type in git add even with dot, it won't add that file, that folder, okay, and none of the contents of the folder, okay. But we want to this so the gitignore file is now there, and it is not in Git, but we would like to add it to Git. So even if someone else close my project and wants to make changes, even that person won't add the pycache folder and the files in it by default. So it's an integrated part of the idea of the project that I want to avoid having the pycache folder in there. So now I say git add dot gitignore git status. Okay, it's in the staging area. Git commit -m add gitignore file. Okay. So by the way, git log shows all the changes that I showed you earlier, right? So I'm pressing space to advance because the screen is so small here that it can only show 2. But with space, I can advance. If with Q, I can quit. I pressed Q and now I quit this listing. So this is how I can see the changes that I made. Now I can also git, what was git status again? I'll run. Git status tells me what? Tells me, first of all, this or that there are 2 files that were changed but not committed. And it also tells me that your branch, so this local thingy that I have, the local branch code main, is 2 commits ahead of what is in origin main. Origin main is the repository, is the branch main in the repository we refer to as origin, which is what we have in GitHub. So I can type in git remote to show you -v. It tells me that the origin name is mapped to this address on GitHub, which is where the repository is. So basically, this message here tells me that I made 2 commits locally, that we don't have it in GitHub yet. Now I can git push, and those 2 are going to push out. Okay, if I run git status again, it tells me your branch is up to date with the origin main. So whatever the name that we have for the outside world. Okay, and then before I turn to Roy, I just wanted to take the time and move all these things that we have covered in the plan already. Yeah. Ignore this one. I move it to the README. And I even add this, updated this in a way that I say here, this is going to be, how do I write it? I want to add already the placeholder for the videos. This is something, it needs to look like this, okay? So it's day 3, part 1. And I will put here the address of, and then you have notes right here below the video, and then this is already part 2, right? So far is good. And then git add, now I use the dot, git status, and I can, so, okay, one more thing before if I ask Roy back. I would like to see what did I change, but I already committed it, already added it, sorry, to git stage. So if I run git diff, it will tell me there's no change because git diff works only on files that were not added to git to the staging. But I can tell it staged -- staged, and now it will show me what are the changes in the staging area. And you can see that I removed from the plans file, I removed all these lines, and I added to the README all these lines. Okay, that's it. And now I can commit it. Git commit, update, read. Okay, let's put this aside now. And Roy, if you are here.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Can I share my screen, maybe?
Just a second. Yeah, I just have to stop my sharing. Yeah, okay.
How can I share all my screen?
When you click on share screen, it will ask you whether you want to share a screen, the whole screen, or just one application.
I'll share.
For me, it says on the left-hand side, it says use system desktop capture, and then I also have use system window capture. But I'm running this on Linux, so maybe the version you have says different words.
Okay, so I'll do like this. Okay.
Okay.
What do you see now?
Yeah, just could you enlarge the font a little bit with Control Shift plus? Yeah.
So I've been trying to create a new directory for the day 3. For example, now I'm here. This is my repository. So I'm doing make day 3.
Okay. Okay.
So now I see it here.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to push it to the GitHub.
Right. So Git doesn't know what to do with empty directories.
As
long as you don't have anything inside, it just disregards it.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So sometimes people put in just an empty file just so they can add the directory, but they usually call it .git keep. But it's just some people made up this idea. But in general, that's it. But before you go, I see that your folder is called your Roy assignments.github.io.
Yes.
And because I saw that this misunderstanding with a couple of people, you don't need to have the github.io with the repository name in general. The only place where you need it is in the website. Okay. For all the other repositories, you don't need it. So I told it to some people already to change it. I recommend you too also to change it later, and then locally you can also change.
Can I change it from the Git bash?
Okay, so let's see this. Let's try to go through this. If you type in now git remote, the one that I typed in, git remote -v, it will tell us where it is mapped. So the remote name is called GitHub.
Yes.
And so you need, I don't think that you can change it with the git. No, you can't change the name on GitHub with the git command because they have nothing to do with each other. Okay, so and I have to verify it again because I think that some people still are unclear on this. So Git has nothing really to do with GitHub. Okay.
Okay.
So what we command, the git command here is just the local thingy, and so GitHub. Okay, basically this GitHub is using Git. That's the relationship. So here you can go to the settings at the top, off-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
And there you can change the rename. Yeah. So let's say you remove it. Okay, fine. And apparently you already have one with that name.
That's weird.
No, don't do that. That's no. Remove the ROI. I mean, that's assignments. That's your assignments anyway. The lowercase, uppercase issue is horrible because on Windows disregards it. So on Windows, the two files or two folders, if the only difference is the case of the letters, Windows thinks that is the same thing. And it can create a huge mess for you. Okay. So you renamed it, fine. Later on you can update it in the README. Now
what do I need? I need to configure it again.
What do you mean configure it again?
Like to deposit it again on my desktop.
So okay, you're asking if you need to clone it again, right?
Clone. Yeah.
So no, you don't need to. Let's go to the command line and let's update it. And this you can do it. So from the command line. So here, if you run again this command, the git remote -v, it didn't change. It still thinks that the remote name is whatever you gave to it, right? Whatever it was originally. So you can change it by saying git remote, again, git remote. First of all, okay, let's try this one, -h. -h. This gives you help. Okay, so it gives, so you can learn from this. Now git remote, it says set URL.
Where is it? I can't see.
Git remote without the -h, just set -URL. And the last line, I think, not the last, not the delete. Git set URL. Actually, the third, we are looking for at the third one from the bottom. So it's set URL, okay? And then without the push, you have to add the name, which is origin. So we call it origin from locally. So you type in origin. Okay, if you look at the results of the git remote -v, a few lines above, you see that it says it's origin and then the address. So here we typed in origin, and then you have to type in the new address.
Okay.
You can copy that one. You can copy that line. Okay.
All of this?
You can copy the whole of it, and then you're going to edit it. No, set URL. Okay, set URL. No, wait a second. Okay. You have to add the word origin as well. So now you type in the origin there. And then fix up the address here. So there you remove the ROI and the github.io. Okay. Now let's see if it works. So run git status. Okay. Let's create a file, just an empty file for day 3. Or wait a second, the README. Open the README. The README is incorrect now, right? Because here there's a README file. Open it if you have the editor open. You can type in code dot if you don't have the editor open.
I have which editor?
The Visual Studio Code or some other editor you use. I mean, you can just open the. Okay, we don't see it because I think you're only sharing this only window.
So what should I open?
So you need, okay, I'll explain it with this one window. Type in the following cat, like the animal cat, space, and README now. Just type in the R and tab. No. Type in the capital R, I think, and then tab. Okay, this one, enter. So this shows the content of this file.
Yeah.
And then you need to change it because, I mean, you don't have to. I just want to update it because at the top of it, it says the wrong name.
Yeah.
So let's edit it. You can open it in Visual Studio Code, let's say, and then just change the first line.
And here in the git bash?
No. Okay, type in code space dot. Enter. This is going to open Visual Studio Code for this project. Okay, and then show us that when it comes up, I don't know, it takes some time. Okay, okay, it seems that it's getting ready, hopefully. Has it opened somewhere?
Yeah, don't you see it?
No, we only see the terminal.
Oh. Just a second. Do you see it now?
Yeah. Okay, so now open the README file. Change the text. Okay, you save it.
How do I? Just save it.
Control S, or you can turn on the autosave, and then go to the terminal again. Now, if you run git status, you will see that it has changed. Okay, you can also git diff to see what was the change. It's only I only do it so we practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Should
Now,
I push now?
Now go ahead, git add, git commit, and git push, so we can verify that we updated correctly the remote URL.
Add what?
Git add dot.
Yeah.
Okay. Git status just to see that we did what we planned to. Okay, it is staged. Now git commit.
Like this?
Yeah, though you don't do, that's not the commit message really. I mean, the commit message is that you change the README, right?
So what should I?
I mean, it's better to type in changing README, or I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
Do? Okay.
I mean, you need to explain here what did you change?
Modified README?
Yeah. I mean, no, it's fine. It was fine. Git commit. Oh, okay. Okay, you copy pasted that green line. Okay, fine. And now you can git push. And if you go, it worked, right? It says it works. Okay,
Yeah.
push something out. And now if you go to the GitHub and refresh it, it changed. Okay, so we managed to change the name of the repository on GitHub, and then locally we changed the mapping. Okay, so it knows where the remote repository is now.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions?
Thank you. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, looking for the Zoom. I lost the Zoom. No, found it. Any other questions, by the way? Anyone else? This is the window. Okay. And here. So here we were. I changed the last thing I did, I committed the README, right? Git status. Everything clean. I'm still one commit behind the whatever is in GitHub because I haven't pushed that one out, but it's fine. I mean, I can push it out. Git push, so you can see it there. Fine. What were the plans? Yeah, we showed this one of Rebecca, just to give you the explanation. What is this? I don't need this one anymore. So in her repository, we see this file, this DS store, and there's also a file called output.txt, which is empty, by the way, and probably was added by the mistake. This DS store is something that the Finder of Mac, so the file explorer that you use in Windows. So this thingy, this one, where is it now? Yeah, this yellow thing that you might be used to for looking for files, which is called File Explorer. In the Mac, it's called Finder, and for some reason, it creates this file. Okay, this, and I think it's empty. So it's totally, I have no idea why they are doing this DS store, but there is no real point in keeping it there. So I would probably take the name of the DS store file, okay, and go to the gitignore file and add it. Okay, I mean, I don't need it on my project for now, but let's do it. Why not? Git diff. You see, I added this one. Apparently I changed also this line, so there was no new line. There was a new line. Okay, I put a new line here. Okay, git add git, and then I say I git ignore file generated by Mac Finder. Okay, what? Okay, sorry. It's commit. I on my computer have these shorter versions, these aliases, so I forgot to it. It's commit. Okay. So on my computer, I have this, the CI is a short, it's an alias for the word commit for historical reasons. It's from check-in. And so I forgot it and tried to use it. Now git commit. So you can see that the commit message is trying to explain what the changes were. And they're gonna be useful. They can be useful later on when you try to look at your project a year from now and trying to find some change. And then if the explanations are good, then it's going to be easier for you to find the change, to find why did you do that change, okay, if you explained it properly here, and so on. So that's why it's a good idea to have good commit messages here. And it's not Finder, it's Finder. Oh, Finder. So let's amend this one. Okay. That's it. That's the whole thing. Okay. Right. And then just mentioned here that the solution of Anna has this pycache folder. So what a person like Anna can do in this case, and also Rebecca that has the file already, first remove the file. So you would say git remove and then the name of the file or the name of the folder, like pycache underscore, and then this will remove that. Tell git to remove it, and then you commit that change, the removal, and then you go to the gitignore file and list the name there, so it won't edit again later on. Okay, and this is the strategy here. So first remove with git rm. Okay, and then add the name to .gitignore. Okay, good. Now, totally different, something totally different. Oh, it's already 10:40. Should maybe start it in the next session. What did I want to show you? Oh, I wanted to do something totally different. So I will skip this one now. I'll put it later because it's a whole chapter, and I don't want to mess with that one now. It should be probably a separate video. Okay, so let's go to something else, which is also a whole thing, but it's a part of the what we are doing now. Okay, so I had this file, dir. Actually, it's the rectangle example, so I can open it with like this, rectangle. Okay, so this was the example, and I wanted to show you how to write functions in Python, how to split up a code into functions. The idea of functions is that, well, okay, so this code is rather short, right? It's only 5 lines or 4 actual lines of code. So that's not much point in dividing into parts. But you already saw the game, right? The game that you wrote, it was already like 10, 15, 20 lines of code. So it's getting longer and longer. And soon you will see that your projects, your even small things, will have hundreds of lines of code. Now, reading 100 lines of code is effectively impossible to remember what you did at the beginning when you're reading the last line, okay? In general, I think people say that you can keep in mind about 20, 30 lines, not really more. So, and even probably less. So we can divide our code into smaller units, which we call functions. And that if we can understand each function separately, then we can have a central function using all of these functions, and then the whole thing will be much easier to understand. It's also very useful because you can reuse the functions in various places. But let's take now this one and take it apart into functions. So first of all, I'm going to save it as save as, with save as, save as into the other folder, which I'm supposed to create, or did I already create? No, I don't have the folder. Okay, so I'm going to create a folder here, new folder, day03, and in there I am calling a rectangle in functions. Okay, just so they will have different name. So first of all, I'm creating a function called main. And then I need to move all, what is this word in English? Indent, okay, sorry, not ident, indent. I need to indent all the lines once. So I highlighted them and then press tab, and it does the work at once. So this way, I defined a function which says, okay, define a function called main. Okay, the name doesn't really matter. In the parentheses, I can accept parameters. We don't have here parameters, doesn't matter. And colon, and then the body of the function is here. So I didn't do much, but now the code won't work. Okay. Let's go to this day3 place and look at it. It's here. So I can run it, Python, rectangle. Okay, so it didn't do anything. Why didn't it do anything? Because now I have a function called main, but it was never used. I only created the function. If I want to use it, I have to write main parentheses. This is what we say we call the function. Okay, so now if I run the program, it actually does whatever was written in the program. So what it executed first, the line main, it saw that, oh, it needs to go here. And now it asked me the lengths. Okay, 23, and the width 10, and the area is 230 apparently. Okay, it's just one length times width. Okay, it's not that difficult. Okay, so first of all, it's a good idea to take all the program, the whole program that you have, and put it in a function called main. Why is it a good idea? Because it teaches us to use functions and to not use what we call global variables. Okay, so, or use it less. That's a good first step. In general, it's a good idea to separate at least 3 major areas of the program. The input, getting input from the user, from a file, whatever, okay? So getting some input. Doing the computation, which is also many times called business logic, even if you are in the business of biology, but it's still called business logic. And then the third part is the output. So here in this program, in this small program, I was happy to see that you actually have all 3 parts in very small, tiny bits. So these 2 lines is getting the input. This one is the business logic. It's only just 1 line, so it might be difficult to see why is it that important, but as our program grows, it will be more and more important. So it might be better to start with it. So this is the business logic. And then this is the generating the output. So, okay, how can we divide this now? I can create a function. And before I do, actually, the regular way I usually work is that I made some little change, then I immediately commit it. Git add, I tried it, right? I tried it, it worked. So I git add dot, and I look at it, git status. It added this rectangle function. It didn't add the plans because it was 1 directory up. So it only added whatever is here and below. Git commit, copy, move code into main function. Okay, good. So what is the next thing? We have to divide it into 3 functions. So let's start with this one, the print one. And let's call it display. So I take this function now, and I'm going to do it manually, even though actually the editor can do some of this automatically. I take this, and I create a new function called def. Let's call it display. And it prints out the area, but it doesn't know what the area is. So the function main has the area, but this function display doesn't have it. They are separated. I can put it here. I could put it before, doesn't matter. The location of these 2, the relative location of these 2 doesn't matter. But it says, it says area. Area is not defined. That's one thing. And the other thing is that we didn't call this display. So instead of the print, we have to call this display. But how can we now pass this value area to the display function? Well, we can tell the definition of the function. At the definition, we can tell it that it is expecting a variable called area. And then when we are calling it, we can pass the variable called area. Okay, let's see what happens now. If I run this program, I can give it 23 and 10, and it's still 213, still printed it out. So this now worked, okay? I can look at the git diff. So if I run git diff, it will also show me the changes in the plans file, which is now unrelated to what we are working on. So it's better now to say git diff dot to see only the changes in this local folder. Okay, so we can see that we created this function and changed it to display. Okay, fine. Git add and git commit separate the display function. Okay, now for some clarification. You might think, based on this example, that everything has to be the same. But in reality, this area and this area must have the same name. So here we created a variable called area, and we passed it the content of that variable here. But here inside, we don't need to call that way. So we can call it I mean, it would be logical now because that's what it does, but I mean, let's call it now just data. And obviously I can now, before that, I can highlight this, press F2, I think, yes, and I can change it this way. Now let's call it data. It's not such a good name, but as you can see, it updated these two. It didn't touch these two, because they are actually unrelated. So to clarify, I have a function, it accepts some data which is expected to be put in this variable called data, and then we are using it. And here I'm passing it some value. To further demonstrate this, I can also say display 99. Okay, whatever, doesn't really matter. So now if I run the program, not this one, sorry. Run this program, 23, 10, and it prints the 230, and it also prints this 99, which is just put there so you can see that the display function can accept anything now. Okay, it doesn't even care that if I give it a number or a string or what, it will print anything. Okay. So now we have separated the output into a function. Okay, it's probably a bit it's probably a bit unnecessary because it's only one single function. But there are people who say like every function must be like 2 or 3 lines long, no more. I think it's too extreme. But if every function is no more than 20 lines, that sounds reasonable. Okay, git add, git ci, git commit -m, rename variable to show that they are unrelated. Okay. So we saw now, what did we see? We see once a function that accepts a parameter and then uses that parameter, and how we pass in a parameter. Okay, now let's say a different function, this one. Let's take this one out, and we would like to separate the getting input. Now we need to, it will return 2 values. So the way we write it is this. Well, let's move it first. I take it and I define def get input, let's say, let's call it that way. And here is the code. You see the paste that changes the indentation. So now this function gets the input, but it doesn't do anything with it. It has to somehow, okay, wait a second. I put it, instead of that, I put here get input. Okay, so I can call the get input here, but how do I get access to the length and the width? Well, the get input function can return us values. We can say return, and we can say we want to return the length and the width. So now it returns these two values, and when I call the function, I can do the same here, length, width. Okay, so now I have a function called getInput, which when I call it, it will do this work and then return these two values. Let's see if it works. $23, 10. Same result. Okay. Let's try with something else. 12, 13. Okay. Any questions so far? Here too, just to prove, okay, it's probably logical to call this length, but let's call this, let's rename this. So I press F2 and received length. Okay, just so we have a separate name. You can see that these two were changed because whatever we got from the user, this is what we have to return it. But this doesn't have, this has nothing to do with it really. This has just, it might be logical to call that the same name because in our head they are the same, but technically they are nothing to do with each other. Okay, the same is the width. Let's change this one as well. I press F2 to do this. Okay, here too. Again, I can run this program and try the 12 and the 13 to see what happens. Still 156, so it's probably good. Git add, again, rename variable to not show. Okay, whatever. I can't change the previous commit anymore. But in the last one, at least, I fixed that typo. Okay, so now we have already one function to get the input, one function to display the output, and the business logic is here in the main function. So let's do this area equal to compute area, and we give it the length, and the width. Okay, and then we move this there. So we create a function now, def compute area. It receives two variables, length and width, does the computation, and says return area. Okay, I'll put a space here just so. Let's see if it works before we discuss it. 12, 13, whatever, 156. So the code works. And we're going to have a break soon, but let's finish this one. So what we see here is that we have a main function that is sort of does the whole thing. First, it calls a function to get the input. And again, in this case, the input is not very complex, but well, it has two lines. And this input, the get input function, doesn't receive any parameter, but returns two values. And they are assigned here to these two variables. Then we have the compute area function that receives 2 parameters and returns 1. And in this case, it does some little computation. Maybe our computation will be more complex later, okay, for some other tasks. And returns the area, and here. And then the display function that only receives some data, displays to the screen, and then that's it. Doesn't return anything. Okay, so now that we have this separation of these functions, we can, this is sort of basically building a skeleton for larger programs. Okay, any questions before we have the break? Or we would like to have a little break and then maybe have questions about it.
Use dried command, what I see. CI.
Again, I forgot. It's commit. Okay. And that's what one thing. And the other thing that was here, git status is the plan. So git add, git commit, update plans. Okay, git push, so you will have it in the repository. And that's it for now. So let's have a break for 8 minutes, okay? And then 10 past 11, we continue.